What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to HTML5 for complete beginners. My name is Zach, not that you give. Before we get into the good stuff, let's get the boring out of the way. What is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML is boring as but if you ever want to create a decent looking front-end website, you're going to need to know at least parts of it. Having said that, let's get into the good stuff. So before we do anything else, we're going to need to make sure that you have a couple of tools here. So the first thing you're going to want is a good text editor. I use Sublime personally, but you can use any text editor you want. I would not recommend using a text editor that's within like Windows or Mac because sometimes it encodes really weird and it can just make stuff really up and you just don't want to have to troubleshoot that. Do yourself a favor, get Sublime, get brackets, get something good. They're free and they'll make your life a lot easier if you continue coding. The second thing you're going to need, if you don't already have one, is a web server. I use MAMP, that's M-A-M-P. I will put a link to both of those in the description. So go ahead and download those and come back. So now that we've got the web server and the text editor installed, go ahead and open up the web server. But before we do anything in here, go to your desktop and create a folder and call it code or HTML, or I really don't care what you call it. Just create a folder and don't forget the name of it. And then go back into your web server, click Preferences, click on Web Server, select this little icon here, and you're going to want to choose the folder that you just created. Now go over to Ports, and you're going to want to change this to port 80 if it isn't there by default. That port 80 is the default web server. So if you wanted somebody to visit your website who is in a different place, who isn't on your local network, you're going to have to port forward. And for that, you're going to need to look up a tutorial somewhere else. That's out of the scope of this video. But for the time being, leave this at port 80. That's the default port. Click OK. And go ahead and click Start Servers. If you're on a Mac, it's probably going to ask you for a password. I don't know what it's going to do on a Windows computer, but just go ahead and type in your password. And usually it opens up like an extra little like web page here. Yep, here it comes. I feel like this is like a Jehovah's Witness going door to door, handing out literature that you don't want. So just close this. It's pointless information for you at this point. Just close out of that. Okay, so now that we have our web server running, we can go ahead and test that out by going to 127.0.0.1 and pressing enter. And if you see here, it says index of, and then there's nothing in here. Another option is you could just type in localhost. Let's delete all this shit. So 127.0.0.1 will always point to your local computer. That will never point to anywhere else in your network. That is always your local computer. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and open up our text editor. Let's make sure that this is open and big enough here. Before we do anything in the text editor, let's go ahead and just save this file. Just Command S or Control S, whatever it is. Make sure you chose your folder that you created on your desktop, and we're going to name this index.html. If you name this anything other than index, your web server will not open it by default. When you name it index, that says, hey, I am the first web page, the first page that you need to display when somebody goes to this website. So go ahead and create that, hit save, and now if you refresh localhost, now we just have a blank page because now it's reading index.html. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our HTML document. So the first thing we're going to do, every tag within HTML is held within the opening and closing brackets there, the greater than and less than sign. So the first thing we need to do is tell the web browser, hey, I'm an HTML file if you didn't get that already. So go ahead and open up our tag there. Type in exclamation mark doctype, D-O-C-T-Y-P-E, space, HTML, and doctype is one word. We're going to close that off. So you may think that we have actually started the actual HTML, but we kind of haven't. Let's go ahead and open up another one. Now we're going to open up the HTML document. So below HTML, we need a head. So we're going to go ahead and open this up, type head, close that off. So information that is contained within head would be styles, like if you want to make stuff look prettier, that would be held within there. A more convenient way would be to link your cascading style sheet, your CSS file within your header, but that is out of the scope of this video. We'll get into that in a different set of tutorials. The most common thing that you will find throughout these videos is we're going to put the title in the head. That is where it belongs. So we're going to go ahead and go down. Notice it automatically indented because it knows something else is coming that's within the head. So we're going to open up our bracket there and we're going to type title. Close that off and we're going to type in hello world. So if you downloaded a Sublime or a decent text editor, if you type in the bracket sign and slash, that will automatically close off for you. So now that we've created our title, go down another line, open up a bracket, type slash, that automatically closed our head for us. The next thing we need to do is we need to create the actual body of the document. So go ahead and open up a new bracket, type in body, close that off, and go ahead and go down a few lines here. And we're going to open up another bracket, hit slash, and that's closed the body. Go down again, open one, close, and now we've closed out the HTML document. So this is essentially saying, so when there's no slash in front, that means, hey, I've started something, and when there's that slash, it means I've ended it. So everything we're going to do from here on out will be held within the body tags. So the first piece of information, actually, let's go ahead and save this here, and go ahead and refresh your page. And nothing has changed except for now we have a title. So let's go ahead and go back into our text editor here, and let's display a heading. Let's make some text appear on the page. So when it comes to headers, there are 6 different sizes of headers that you can use in HTML without getting into any sort of other language or styling. So it goes H1 to H6, and the smaller the number, the bigger the font. So if I were to go H6 and type in welcome to the site, save that, and refresh, that is tiny. That is some small right there. But if I were to go back in and I were to change this to H1, welcome, save that, refresh, that's much bigger. So that is how you create headers within HTML. So the next thing I'm going to teach you is how to format paragraphs within HTML. If you're going to be typing a lot of text, you're going to want to use the paragraph tag, which in HTML is super simple. It's just P. So go ahead and open that up, P, close it off, and again, alternatively, if you're using a good text editor, just type in P, press tab, ta-da! So coders are notoriously lazy, so I am not going to type much in here. I'm just going to type in lorem, L-O-R-E-M, press tab again, and that's automatically generated a paragraph of text for us. Go ahead and save that, refresh, and our text appears on the screen. So if we wanted to do that again, if we wanted to add a second paragraph, we would do what? We would open our paragraph. And let's go ahead and type lorem again, press tab, save, refresh, and our next paragraph is right there. That is how you create paragraphs in HTML. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is text formatting. So let's start by getting rid of all of this stuff. And actually, let's go ahead and create another paragraph there. And actually, you know what? No, we're not going to. We're going to create an H1 so you guys can actually see this. And we're going to type welcome to the site. Just save, make sure it loads okay. Cool. So I would suggest taking a screenshot of this. It's going to make your life a lot easier. These are the different tags we can use to emphasize text or to make the text look different. A lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. So B is bold, I would be italic. Emphasize is pretty much the same thing as italic. Small would make a specific word smaller than the rest. Mark would highlight the text. Delete, DEL, would cross out whatever was in between the delete tags. It would cross out. It wouldn't actually delete the words. So don't get confused there. Sub is going to make whatever's in between the tags smaller and lower than the rest of the words. INS would underline the words, and SUP, SUP, is going to raise the text. So again, most of those are self-explanatory, and I know I'm going quick, but there is a hell of a lot to go over in this video. So I'm only going to show you a few of these. Let's go ahead and do the crossed out. Let's do DEL. So go ahead and save that, and it crossed out 2. So something else, we can stack these most of the time. Sometimes bold will be a little bit funny and won't want to work right. So let's go ahead and do that with italics as well. So we'll go ahead and do the I tag, and we'll go ahead and close off the I tag. If we save that, it is now italic and crossed out. So that is basic text formatting within HTML. Another thing you'll use all the time would be a line break. So let's go ahead and put our paragraph tag back in there. Let's type in some lorem ipsum and just go ahead and zoom back in. As you can see, that's just a big run-on sentence. So let's fix that. So let's go ahead and create a line break here. So essentially all that's going to do is add space in between the lines, like such. Oh, I nailed that. That was perfect. So we can do that as many times as we want. We can create as many line breaks as we want, and it'll keep putting a space in between each line. This will be very handy, and you will use that a lot. Okay, so let's go over some basic alignment within HTML. So let's say we're doing a paragraph tag, and let's just type in some lorem ipsum, hit save, and that's just all jumbled together. So let's say we wanted to center this. So we do align, center. Save that, go back, and now it's aligned center. So we could align it right, and now it's aligned right. We could align it left, but that would be silly because that's its default state. This will work with H1. Basically, this will work with any attribute within, or any tag within HTML. It'll work with images. It'll work with pretty much anything. So that is basic aligning within HTML. Okay, so take a moment to congratulate yourself. You're moving along nicely. The next thing we're going to get into is quotes. So go ahead and open up your text editor again, and I'm just going to delete all this, and I'm going to create a paragraph tag. And I'm going to type this one time at Bandcamp, Zach said, and go ahead and within your paragraph quotes here, so don't close that off, we're going to type in block quote. So open up your tag, block quote. Let's go ahead and do that. I don't have a life. That's why I'm sitting at home making coding videos. So we go ahead and save that, refresh, and basically all that's done is indent that. So if we wanted to make that look a little fancier, as per the previous lesson, we could do italics. And don't forget to close that off, or everything will be in italics from here on. Save that and refresh, and it is now in italics. So this is a good stopping point. Go get yourself a coffee or a beer or a mimosa and smash that like button and subscribe, and we're going to keep moving on. The next thing we're going to look at are comments. So comments are basically a reminder within your code as to what goes where or what you're doing. So to create a comment, go ahead and open up your bracket there, type exclamation mark, dash dash. Notice everything went gray here. So essentially you've just removed this part of the code. This is no longer being read as code. So always make sure to dash dash and close off your comment. Now this is where you would put I'm about to create epic or whatever is relevant to the code that you're creating. So if we save that, you're not going to see it in here. But if you remember in the beginning of the video, I said that HTML is rendered by the browser. That means that the browser can see the code, therefore the end user can see the code as well. So to do that, right-click and click View Page Source. Now all of a sudden, what we just typed in is visible to the person who's on the website. So be cautious what you put in your comments because somebody's going to see them. Okay, so go ahead and close out of this. Now, like I said, HTML is boring, so let's try to make this a little bit less boring. let's add some background color. So in between this head tag that I said we wouldn't be working in other than the title, let's go ahead and work within that. First, I have a random closing paragraph tag. Didn't realize. Go ahead and get rid of this stuff. And under title, what we're going to do is we want to open and close the style tag. So go ahead and style. Nope, we don't have to worry about that yet. And go ahead and close that off. And within the style tag, what you're going to do is you're going to type body, open and close the curly braces. So by typing body, what we're doing is we're accessing this body tag, and anything in between here can be affected. So what we're going to do, we're going to type background dash color. Now in here you could use like a hexadecimal code or whatever you wanted to. I'm just going to make this easy and type in blue. And then put a semicolon, hit save, refresh, and all of a sudden we have a blue background. So continuing on with colors, let's go ahead and create a H1 tag, a header, and we're going to type welcome to the site. Refresh, and there we go. So it's in black, but the black and blue with these specific shades really don't look very nice. So let's go ahead and change the color of the font. So within the H1 tag, let's create an attribute called style. Notice it opens up this equal sign. I think that's the first time we've seen this so far. So what we're going to do here is we're going to type in color and put the dot dot thing. I forget what that's called. Why can't I think of that? Anyway, and we're going to type in white. Type in the semicolon, save, refresh, and we've just changed the color. Again, you can use the hexadecimal if you want. You can use a hex code. We could change it to red if we wanted to. We could change it to green. We could change it to Trump orange. Well, that's not quite Trump orange, but anyway, you get the point. So that is how you start messing with colors within HTML. Okay, so now that we've got the somewhat fun stuff out of the way, let's go back to the boring stuff. So I'm just going to start a new document here because it's easier. And let's go ahead and create some links. So within HTML, it's really simple to create a link. The tag is just A. So we can type in A, make sure to open it up, type A, href, href equals, double quotes. Now within the double quotes, that's where the link goes, the actual link itself. So whatever you want to point to. So in this case, let's do pound for now, or depending on when you were born, you may call it a hashtag. Side lesson, if you were born like in the early 90s or before, that used to be called a pound. Anyway, close that off. And here is where you're going to type the name of the link or the description. So we're just going to call this a link and close off your A tag, your link tag. So you never want to close off the attribute or anything like that. You don't need to do that. You just need to close off the tag itself. So if we save that and refresh, now we see a link. If you click it, because we put the pound in there, nothing happens. So if we were to change this to http:// actually that's a bad idea. Google.com, hit save, refresh, click it, it takes us to Google. If you guys have any questions about anything that we've covered so far, leave it in the comments below. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That would really help me out and help build this channel quicker. This is a good time to go and grab yourself a coffee, a wine, a beer, whatever you need, and come back and we're going to keep learning. The next thing I want to go over would be images. So it's really simple to do an image as well. So let's just go ahead and close out of our link here. Open it up. img, so image, src equals, double quotes, and go ahead and close that off. So I put an image in our HTML folder here. You'll have to do this for yourself. I did not provide a link to the image used because you can find your own. Doesn't matter which one you use. So in our code folder, I did put image.jpg in there. So you will need the actual image for this part to work. So we're going to type in image.jpg, not jog. I don't do that. And go ahead and hit save and refresh. Whoa, see, it's huge. And I chose that image because I'm on a diet and that looks delicious. So alternatively, if you wanted to reference an image that's on a different website, you can do that as well. So I used Pixabay for this because it's royalty free and I won't get sued for using the image. So I'm just going to copy the image address and go ahead and let's just screw this up so it doesn't load anymore. See, we got the little broken icon up there. And if we change the image source to the website, save that, refresh, we get it to pop up. That is how you do images in HTML. Alternatively, if you wanted to make this a little smaller, we could also do style and then height. Let's just call this 300 pixels. Don't forget to put in your semicolon there. Width, 300 pixels. And it's much smaller. It's not quite right, but it's much smaller. You can also do a percentage. So let's do 50%. And we'll change this to 50% as well. That's more CSS than anything. And it is 50% of the size of the original. So that is images within HTML. So speaking of food I can't have, let's create a list of some of them. So lists. There are ordered lists and unordered lists. Let's start with the unordered. So to do an unordered list, you would open up your tag and do UL, which stands for, you guessed it, unordered list, and then go ahead and close that off. So for each item held within your list, you're going to need to create a list item. So in this case, I'm going to create 3. If you're using Sublime, you can install a plugin called Emmet. That's E-M-M-I-T. And I believe within other text editors, you can get that as well. I'm just going to type in the star symbol, and I'm going to type 3, press tab, and it creates them for us. Okay, so what can I not have? Beer, cake, most, food. Save that, refresh, and we have an unordered list. So an ordered list would be an OL. So go ahead and open that up and close it. And let's create 3 again. So again, it's going to be a list item times 3. And we're going to type in beer, cake, anything good. That's not how you spell anything. Next tutorial, how to spell. Go ahead and save. And it's not going to look a whole lot different, except it's going to number. So what you could do here, you could change, rather than having it be numbered, you could come in here and do type. And let's say we wanted it to be Roman numerals. So we type in I, and that would be a lowercase Roman numeral. If we wanted uppercase Roman numeral, we could do capital I, refresh that. We could do alphabetical lowercase or alphabetical uppercase. And those are ordered lists and unordered lists within HTML. So this time we're going to do something a little bit more advanced. We're going to get into tables. So go ahead and delete what we've done here. And what we're going to do is we're going to first start by opening our table tag. And now down below that, we need to basically say, hey, this is the header. So we do that with tr. So go ahead and type in tr, close that off. And then we're going to type in th, which are essentially like the header items. So, and you know what, actually I want 3. Let's do th times 3, press tab. That'll work if you have Emmet installed on a good text editor. So let's do first name, last name, and age. So now we need to close off the header there. Don't get confused with like the h1, h2. We're closing off the tr tag. So now that we have the, if we save and refresh, you can see what this does. So we have first name, last name, and age. So now what we can do, now we need to start entering in the information. So now we're going to type in tr again, and we're going to follow that up with td. And we're going to actually do that 3 times. So td times 3. And my name is Zach. I'm going to make up a last name. Let's do Jones. And let's say I'm 147 years old. Go ahead and close off our TR tag. And finally close off our table tag. Hit save, hit refresh. Nobody accused it of looking fancy, but that is a table. So say you wanted to add additional items. So what you could just do from here is just copy this bit of information in between the TRs. So from the open to the close, go down a couple lines, paste that in, and let's do John Jones kind of sounds cool, but let's change it. John Smith. And John Smith is 69 years old. Go ahead and save that and refresh. And now we have another entry in our table. Okay, let's talk about divs. So a div is essentially a folder. It'll help you organize your site and just make it look overall cleaner. And especially when you start getting into CSS, using divs will be very beneficial to you. So let me go ahead and show you how we would go about doing this. So we would type in div, and we could go down here and close the div off. Let's go ahead and create a header tag and just say hello world. Save that and refresh. So there's nothing new. A div is not a visible item. So now what we could do is we could create another div, and we could say, let's create a header 3 to F4 tag because I did a typo, and welcome to the site. Go ahead and close that off. So we could target these specific divs within a style sheet to make them appear different, to style them, to make them look nice. So there's a couple of ways we can do that. So there's classes and there's IDs. So if you use an ID, that is a unique thing. You can only use an ID for one item. So if we were to type in div ID equals header. Now we've used header. We could not name this header, otherwise the CSS file, the style sheet, would not know what to target. So if you were to save that, it wouldn't change. Nothing would appear different. So to use a class, we could do class equals a smaller font. Save, and nothing changes. It's a good idea to organize each individual element in your website in its own div. It'll just make things a lot easier down the road. And also, if you're using a good text editor, as you can see here when I click on div, here when I close div, it'll show me the div that I'm working within. So that'll also be very handy. As you get coding more, you're going to have a lot of the same tags, and you're going to have a lot of tags within tags. So it'll help you to close out the right thing at the right time. Get in the habit of using divs, and actually while we're here, I might as well show you some of the benefits of using divs. So within our head tag that we were never going to use, go ahead and type in style, close that off, and then close off style, and we're going to target header. So to target an ID, which would be here, you type in the # or hash, and then header. Open our curly braces and close that off. And let's type in color, do red. Go ahead and save that, refresh, and now we have red. And it didn't touch the one down here. So if we were to target the class instead, what we would do is we would type in period. And let's copy smaller font. Save that. Now this will go back to black, and this will go to red. That is how you use divs. Okay, so let's get into some more fun stuff here. So go ahead and create a div, because it's good practice to start working within them. So if you wanted to get information from the people visiting your website, how would you go about doing that? Well, you would use a form. So let's go ahead and open up our tag, type in form, close that off, and go down a couple lines here, close off our form. Now if we save and refresh, literally nothing will happen. It's still the same blank, boring page. That's because we haven't told the code what sort of information to populate within the browser. So let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and open our tag here. And anytime we want to get information from the user or any sort of feedback from them, we're going to use the input tag. or text area, but that's a different story, which I'll show you in a minute. So input type equals text. Now you could also change this to number if you only wanted them to be able to enter numbers, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to type in text. And there's a few others you can use as well, but you can look those up. They're not used as commonly. Like phone number is one of them. Okay, so go ahead and close that. And actually, before we do that, let's type in first name, create a line break, and create a line break here as well. Last name, create a line break, and create another input. And go ahead and save this and refresh. Now we have a form showing up. Okay, so there's a problem with this though. Can you spot it? There is no submit button. There's a couple of ways we can go about doing this. First of all, let's create a line break so everything stays nice. So we can just open up our bracket here and type in button. That's not how you spell button. And go ahead and close it off. Now if we save and refresh, it will show up, but there's going to be another problem. It's really hard to see because there's no text within it. So we would put our text that we want to appear on the button within our opening and closing button tags. So let's type in submit. Save, refresh, boom. There we go. Another way to do this, which is actually the way I prefer to do it, but it's not really a right or wrong thing, you could create another input. So input type equals submit, hit save, refresh, and nothing changes. So if you wanted to change the value of the submit, if you wanted to change what it says in the button, you would type in value equals double quotes, and then whatever you wanted it to be. So let's just type in go. Save that, refresh, and ta-da, we have go. So say we wanted to get their gender next. We could go about that in two different ways. We could do a drop down, or we could do radio buttons. So let's go ahead and start with radio buttons. Let's create a couple of line breaks here. Let's go down, gender, and create a line break. Oop, I don't want that capital. There we go. Okay, so the way we go about creating a line break is very similar to the way we create a text field. So we're going to type in input type equals radio. Name is going to be gender. Value is going to be male, and actually, let's go ahead and I was going to put another line break, but I don't think we need it. So if we save and refresh, male, there we go. Now save and refresh. And actually, yeah, let's go ahead and put that in. There we go. So we have male. So it's important to specify the male part twice. So the value, when you start getting into more advanced like backend languages like PHP, the value is going to be what it's pulling from. That's what's going to send the information from the HTML to the actual web server itself. So let's go ahead and just copy this. And we're going to paste this in. And we don't actually need this line break. So let's change this to female. Hit save. And we have female. So let's move our input button here, or our submit button, just so it looks a little better. Okay, so gender needs to come down a little bit. I know I'm being nitpicky at this point. Okay, and finally create one more line break. There we go, ta-da. Okay, so the other way to do this is with a drop-down. So let's go back into our code here, and let's go ahead and get rid of the radio buttons. So now what we can do is we need to create a select tag. So we're going to go select, not selection, select, and in here we're going to type in name, and we're going to type in gender. So again, this will be for passing information to like PHP or various other web languages. Go ahead within your select, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to type in option, value, and here is where we're going to type in the gender. So male, and we're going to type in male again, and we're going to repeat this process. Option, value equals female, female, hit save, refresh, and now we have a drop down for gender. So let's go ahead and create a break here so that doesn't look so crappy. Create 2. There we go. Okay, so with this text field, let's say we were to type in some information here and hit go and refresh. Notice up here it did choose male. That's because we put in additional information here. So we put a value in here. So if we were to put a value in these as well, what we put in here would show up here as well. So if we were to change this to female, this changes to female. Okay, so now if you see here, let's type in Zach and hit go. Okay, so because we don't have the value set, it's not going to work like I want. So forms can autocomplete as well. So basically, if you've typed something in before, the form can go, hey, I recognize that. If you want to stop that from happening, what you can do within your inputs is you can do autocomplete off. You can refresh, and now it won't autocomplete. You can put in, okay, so let's say we wanted to create a password field as well. So let's go ahead and do away with one of these line breaks. Choose a, we'll just type in password. Create a break. I almost did some PHP. And we're going to input type equals password. And now we're going to create our 2 line breaks. So now if we go and type in password, it's all starred out. So let's say we wanted to remove the first and last name part up here. So we could, for the sake of time, I'm just going to leave it in here, but I'm also going to put it within the field itself. So we would do that. Let's go ahead and just remove this autocomplete stuff, just for the sake of space. So what we would do is we would type in placeholder, and within the first one we type in first name, hit save, refresh, and there we go. So now the placeholder is there for first name. We could do the same for last name as well. And ta-da. You could do the same for password. And that would not show up as starred. So another option, let's say that you wanted to create a default value within one of these. Let's go ahead and just do away with these for now. Okay, so let's say that you have, you want to make sure somebody is, screw it, it's easier to show you. Okay, so we've created a text field, and now let's create a value inside of it. So when you do a value, it's going to automatically populate that text field with information. So if we were to type in test, hit save and refresh, that's typed in, like that's editable. So that is how you input information by default into a text field. Well, goddamn, congratulations on making it this far. So now that you can add basic HTML to your resume, let's go ahead and create a resume. We're going to start this document from scratch, and we're going to go through some of the things that you've learned and probably a couple things that you haven't learned, because there's a lot to HTML, a lot of little things. So let's go ahead and begin. So create our index.html page. And go ahead and open this up, exclamation mark, doc, type, HTML, close that off. Let's go ahead and open up our HTML tag. Let's create our head tag. Go ahead and create our title, Zach's resume, R-E-S-U-M-E, there we go. Okay, our head is closed off. And let's go ahead and open our body tag. And let's go down a few lines here. Close off our body tag. Close off the HTML tag. And let's make sure that we have our title. It's always good to refresh often, save and refresh often, just to make sure you didn't screw something up down the line. There we go, Zach's resume. So let's go ahead and create some style here because we don't want this to just be a plain white background. So style, go ahead and end style, and let's target the body tag. Let's go background color, don't forget your colon there. And I've got this neat little website that I like to use sometimes. I'll link to it in the description. I kind of like this blue color. So let's go ahead and go back into our code editor and just paste that and save. And let's make sure that that worked. So we've got a really nice looking blue here, not like that white. Okay, so we have finished in our head tag. So now let's go ahead and go down to the body of the document. So we want to get their attention right off the bat. So let's create an H1. H1, and we're going to name it Zach's resume. Close our H1 tag. Go ahead and save that and refresh. Okay, so, you know, it's okay, right? But it's not particularly professional looking. So let's go ahead and align the text here. Align equals center. Save that. Okay, that's looking much better, but I still don't like the color. So outside of our align attribute, let's type in style, color, don't forget the colon there. Let's type in white and see how that looks. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so now let's put something below the H1 tag. So if you're going in between like H1, H2, so on and so forth, it's automatically going to put it on a new line. So we don't need to do a line break. Let's type in H4 and let's type in give me a job. Close off our H4 tag, refresh. Okay, there we go. So again, let's go ahead and align that, center, and we will, actually let's see how small looks here. No, I like H1 better, or H4. There we go. And let's go ahead and make that white as well. So we're going to type in style, color, white. Save that and refresh. Awesome. Now when you start getting into CSS, you could make this a little bit closer up, but for the sake of this video, we're not going to mess with that. So now I want to create that little bar here. Actually, you know what? We're going to go ahead and, before we do that, before we end our H4 tag, let's go ahead and create a line break. And let's type in a fictitious phone number. Let's type in 555, 555, 5555. There we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create our little bar thing down there. So we're going to go HR, not BR, sorry, HR. Save that, refresh, and now we've created a line break. So below our line break, let's keep going. Actually, you know what? There's something I forgot to do here. So let's go ahead and create a div. And we're going to close off our div here. Okay. And let's go ahead and put this down here a little further. Okay, perfect. So now below here, let's do an About Me section. So let's go ahead and do H1 again, and About Me. And save and refresh. So once again, it's kind of a little wonky looking. Let's actually go for an H2 tag. Yeah, it's better looking. And we're going to go ahead and align that center again. Perfect. And let's make that white. Color white. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's try gray. Nope, too much. Sorry, I'm being nitpicky at this point. Screw it, we're going with that. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead and create a couple of paragraphs. So go down here a little bit, and let's create our paragraph tag. So open and close our paragraph tag, and I'm just going to type in some lorem ipsum and save that. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so not bad, but let's go ahead and align that as well. Center. Perfect. Okay, so that's pretty basic, but let's go ahead and create another lorem ipsum tag. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. So below this, let's go ahead and create, what was I going to create here? Let's go ahead and create another let's create another H2 tag. And let's say previous work. And let's go ahead and actually do another line break here. And let's make this white. Let's align it and make it white. Align, center, and style, color, white. Don't forget your semicolon at the end there. Okay, previous work. And actually, let's actually go ahead and make this the same as before. So previous work. Let's go ahead and create a table for previous work. So let's go ahead and open up our table tag. And let's go ahead and let's get some more space here. Let's close off the table tag. And now let's create our header. So if you remember, that is tr. And then for each subsequent item under the header, it's going to be th. So let's go ahead and create 3 of those. So th times 3. The first one is going to be company, job, and how long. I'll go ahead and close off the tr. And now what we're going to do is we're going to open up another tr. And we're going to do td. My mistake, sorry, we need to do multiple TDs, so let's actually create 3 of them. So TD times 3. Okay, so company ABC Corp. The job was worker. How long? Too long. And let's not forget to close off our TR tag. And let's see how that looks. Okay, so previous work. So that looks fine, but let's go ahead and align this. So table, align, center. Save that, refresh, and that looks much better. Let's go ahead and create another job under here. So if you remember right, we're going to take this tr, copy that, paste it. This time we're going to say ruler of the world. Job king. And job length, not long enough. Perfect. Okay, so again, not pretty, but that's okay, it'll do. So under our table, let's go ahead and create another bar thing. So that is HR. And yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's create a skills section. So to do that, we'll do an unordered list. So let's go ahead and do unordered list. And then we're going to create 4 list items. Let's just do times 4. Okay, perfect. So shows up to work most days. Doesn't get drunk at work. Doesn't tell people to off, and won't complain more than a few times a week. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's have a look at this again. Let's refresh. Okay, cool. So, under Zach's resume, let's actually go ahead and put a picture of me, which for the sake of this video is going to be that cheeseburger image we used earlier. So, where is that? Here we go. Zach's resume. So, let's go ahead and create an image. So, if you remember right, that's img src equals. Something I forgot to mention before, if your image is in a different folder, so like let's say you had the folder code, and then you created another folder for your images, you would type in images / and then your image name. Or in the case that it was one folder previous to the directory you're working in, you would do .. and that would get you into the previous directory. Okay, so image source is, I think that's what I named it. Yes, it is. Okay. So obviously my face is way too big there. So let's go ahead and make that a lot smaller. So if you remember right, we have to use the style attribute for that. And we're going to do height. Let's make that 25% and width 25%. Okay, so not bad. Let's actually try 15%. Okay, that's starting to look better. So now you can also do image align center. I think that's not working because our style tag here. Okay. So image align center. Save that. I'm not actually sure why it's not aligning. So that's something I can come back to later. So we'll actually just go ahead and do the style again, and we'll put that back to where it was. Style. Actually, you know what? We could try that as well. Nope, that's not going to work either. Okay, I screwed something up. You're going to mess up a lot when you code. It's just going to happen. That's why you save and refresh often so you can see where you're at. So height equals 10%. Width equals 10%. Go ahead and close that off. There we go. That's really going to piss me off. Okay, that worked. So just to fix this for now, this isn't the way you should go about this, but you could create a p tag and you could align that center and then wrap your image within the paragraph tag, and that worked fine. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a form at the very bottom for the potential employer to contact you after they have read that you show up most days to work, don't get drunk at work, don't tell people to fuck off, and won't bitch more than a few times a week. So let's go ahead and create a form here. So if you remember, we have to start with form. Go ahead and close that off. And there we go. Just reformat everything. And let's go ahead and close off our form here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create an input. Or actually, let's say, before we do our form, let's go ahead and create a contact me. Let's create an 3, contact me. Align center. And that actually might be too big. Let's create an H2 instead. There we go, that's better. And actually, let's create a comment here because I forgot to show you guys footers. So create footer below this line. Okay, so contact me. Back to this, now that my ADHD moment's over. Shut the fuck up, dog. Don't know if you can hear that in the background. So let's have a look at that. Contact me. Okay, cool. So let's create a first name. And go ahead and create a line break. And if you remember right, we're getting user input. So we start it with input type equals text. Go ahead and create a line break. And you know what? For the sake of just being proficient here, oh, actually, let's align this as well. Actually, I really did need to do it like that, but that's fine. I should have left the contact me out because I've already aligned it center, but that's okay. All right, so first name is done. Input type equals text. Let's go ahead and create a placeholder. And we're going to type in first name. And now that pops up here. And so our line break is already there. So we're still working within the paragraph tag because we kind of used a shitty way to go about centering that. Now let's go ahead and type in company name and create a line break. Input type equals text. Placeholder is going to be company name. Save, make sure everything's looking good. It is. And you could also change the color if you wanted to go in here and edit the input. You could add a style to it. And let's go ahead and do a text area this time. So let's go ahead and create a line break here. Tell me about the job. And we could also do calls. Let's go 4 columns here. No, that's too small. Let's do 10. 50 I meant, of course. And let's create 5 rows. Much better. Okay, but now let's create some space in between company name and tell me about the job. So we also could have made that a placeholder instead of entering information, but I'm just going to leave it like that for now. There we go. And first name, actually, I want 2 line breaks there. No, I don't. That looks like it. Okay, finally, let's go ahead and do a break after text area. And let's create a button. So I'm going to do this my way. Input type equals submit. And we can just go ahead and let's change the value to hire me. Perfect. Okay, so this is kind of starting to come along. So with this having very minimal CSS, this isn't too terrible. Okay, so now our comment. So create footer. Footer. So 2019, Zach, Code Junkie. Save that. And if you see down here, we now have a footer. Let's align that center. Nope, we're going to have to do the Okay, so that actually did work. I don't know why I wasn't suggesting it. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead and change the color to white as well. So style, color, white. Congratulations, you have learned basic HTML, and you have also made a pretty kind of crappy looking resume, but hey, you did it in HTML, right? Pat yourself on the back. If you guys learned anything, please do like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And now go and take your newly acquired HTML skills and build upon them. Go learn CSS. I'm going to be doing a series of tutorials on CSS. I also have HTML tutorials up currently. And if you want to start getting into like web server application type of stuff, PHP would be a great series of videos for you to get into. So you can go to my channel and you can definitely have a look at those. Also, if you want to show me the work that you've done, go ahead and go to codepen.io and you can hit start coding. And here within the HTML tag, you can copy everything you've done. You can paste it in here. You can press save. It's probably going to want you to like sign in or whatever, but you can do it through Facebook, so it's super quick. And it'll give you a little link. If you want to share that in the comments below, I'd love to take a look at what you've done. Thank you guys for sticking in there. Hope you guys had fun with this, and go code.